Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we're going to check out the new 2019 Joan Jett signature ES-339. Now, Joan is no stranger to Gibson products. She's actually had two signature guitars before this one in the late 2000s. They were two Melody Makers based off of the 65 shape. And in fact, Michael Clifford just got a signature guitar that I reviewed that was very similar to that. So when I saw they released another one for her, I thought that was kind of funny. Joan Jett has a pretty interesting history behind her. She first got in the music business around the age of 15 with her first band, The Runaways, but that band only lasted for about 3 years from 1976 through 79. The most memorable song out of all that, Cherry Bomb. But after that band eventually disbanded, she formed her own group called Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and subsequently, with the help of The Who, Blackheart Records. Why'd she have to make her own record label? It's because she had 23 rejections from other record labels for her new band. But once she published it herself, the rest is just history. I think her two most famous songs have to be I Love Rock and Roll, as well as Bad Reputation. I mean, those are the first two that come to my head anyways. But more recently, she's been seen touring with this ES-339. It's completely different from the Melody Maker a lot of people associate her with. And when she was asked about why she now sports a semi-hollow, she says it kind of reminds her of herself. She was always told girls can't play rock and roll, just the same as there's a stereotype that semi-hollow and hollow-body guitars belong in jazz or blues. She likes being rebellious. So first off, what on earth is an ES-339 anyways? This was a body style first released in 2007. Essentially, what they were trying to do is make an ES-335 smaller. Because here's a Les Paul, and here's a 339. They are very similar in size. Whereas a 335 would be roughly about this size, and here it is compared to the 339. They look like little baby toys. So these are fantastic for people who have always felt the 335 shape is just way too big on them. I mean, if you're BB King size or a really tall guy like me, you can handle a 335. But if you're like 5'2", 5'5", you got tiny hands, they can be a little bit cumbersome to get around. So that's why these were designed, to make them more comfortable to people who are used to a solid body size of an instrument. Width-wise, they're not too different though. So besides Joan's signature on the truss rod cover, what makes this different from any other 339 out there? Just as a disclaimer, there's a bunch of different 339 models, so it's kind of hard to pick and choose which one to compare it to, so it's kind of hard to do a direct comparison. But here's a few points. Well, namely, the black binding. All other standard 339s will have cream. These ones have different pickups, Burstbucker 2 and 3 instead of the M series. And this is one you won't realize till you see them back to back. The Joan Jett pickguard is more like Les Paul in style, instead of the big fancy looking one. But here's the big two that people are kind of interested in. The center block for this particular guitar is chambered. So a chambered maple center block, whereas on a regular 339, they're either solid or weight relieved. And the whole purpose of that was to make this lighter for Joan Jett. On top of that, this has Adirondack spruce bracing, which is apparently a first for Gibson as well on these. So the Joan Jett 339 is most similar to the specs of the figured 339. But a couple of other cool features on this that you don't find on all the other ones are nylon saddles. That's kind of a 60s thing. And I think what made me happiest about this guitar, knowing that Joan Jett loves her vintage Melody Makers, she actually had them reissue the 60s styled strap buttons on here with the plastic tips. She also got special knobs. She loves her witch hats because, once again, that's what's on her Melody Makers, but she likes the speed knob for, well, it's speed on the bridge pickup for doing volume swells or turning it on and off while she's on stage. But take a good look at this. Gibson's video really did not showcase exactly what they did here. I thought this was just a regular notched top version, but they have like super glue or something on here in a ringed format. It's rather strange. It seems home done and unprofessional. I really don't think this would be in place on any guitar except for a signature model, so it's kind of cool in that aspect. So now that we know a little bit about this instrument, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to learn a little bit more. So I'm not necessarily an expert on Gibson semi-hollows. I haven't had too many, but I'll try to show you and tell you what I do know. So neck pickup in here is the BB2, so burst bucker 2 and burst bucker 3 in the bridge. This is a really good pickup set. It'll do quite a bit. So inside the neck pickup cavity, it looks like we have a long neck tenon. Then the bodies of these are maple poplar maple sandwiches. That's how they're able to bend it into the 335 shape. So that's what the top is, that's what the sides are, and that's what the back also is. But then, besides the spruce bracing on the inside, which feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's what this stuff is, as well as if you look in there, this stuff that's kind of rigid on the sides. I mean, the smell when you open this, it smells like the acoustic guitar room at Guitar Center. But then, running through here is a maple center block. You can kind of see that right there, and that's supposed to be chambered out. Now, I'm not really too sure how I can show you that. Maybe we can tap on it. You can kind of hear it's hollowed. So, I hope this kind of helps show you how they're created, and all the different woods and layers this thing has. So essentially, all this beautiful maple you're seeing is actually a very thin veneer, which is why it's kind of crazy to me that they're not all heavily flamed. Because you'd think it'd be easier to have more uniform flame on more of these with it being a thin maple veneer, but I actually turned down the true signed signature because there was no figuring in it. But moving on to the bridge, this made me very upset. They've done the stud-mounted ABR1 again and advertised it as an ABR1. I really wasn't expecting that on this model, and I'm highly disappointed that they've done that on such an expensive guitar. But here we can see our nylon saddles on here, kind of like that 68 reissue I did a video on, and the back reads Gibson ABR1. The tailpiece is lightweight aluminum and says advanced plating on the back. Another big feature on these is that they're hand-wired and they have the orange drop caps. It's kind of hard to see. That's the only way I can show you what's in there is by shining a light in here. But the controls are standard, 3-way toggle switch, 2 volumes, 2 tones, and we'll take a quick look at this one again. It's really hard to describe what this is. It just feels like a spray foam of some sort mixed with super glue. I feel like these could flake off if you picked at them. They're just kind of interesting. But the point of those is to help you get more grip on it so you can move it even faster. And inside the bass side F-hole, you have the sticker that says Gibson on it, guaranteed, serial number, all that good stuff. And in case you're wondering how they get the electronics in there in the first place, I believe they fish it through the bridge pickup cavity. These do have pick guards installed from the factory, but I took it off so you could see what it looks like without. But these are kind of interesting. I haven't seen these too often because I'm mainly a solid body player. But you've got this thing that secures the screw on the side. It just kind of makes it look fancier, but it is just 1-ply black in material. And it appears that they just kind of super glue that block on there or something like that. Then moving on to the neck, we've got a mahogany neck with what they're calling a dark rosewood fretboard. I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't look too dark to me. Now, if you oiled it up, it would probably look pretty nice. But unfortunately, there's a lot of QC issues with this one along the binding, and there's actually a very small finish crack by the neck. So unfortunately, this one will be going back. That's why I'm kind of being brief with this review. This one's particularly bad because there's a lot of chipped finish along the edges. But the final straw was when there was a finish check by the neck heel. Face of the headstock, you've got the truss rod that reads Joan Jett. It has her signature on it. There's your truss rod in there. And you've kind of got that historic style truss rod cover. It's pretty nice. And you have the Gibson Mother of Pearl logo with the crown. We have a 1.68 inch nut width, which increases to 2.02, which is fairly thin. First fret neck depth, 0.87 inches. Then it increases to 0.95 at the 12th. And it has the typical 24 3/4 inch scale. Moving on to the backside, not a lot to talk about because we don't have any access plates to take off and look inside, but you've got a nice beautiful flame maple veneer on the back. Now it's kind of interesting here, as a solid body guy, usually you see like a jack plate of some sort. That's just right on there with a nut and washer. But it is bound front and back with the black binding. Once again, you do get your special strap buttons. And the other one's located at the base of the heel. Here's the back of the mahogany neck. It's got some nice grainage to it. And then here's where these things get interesting. So they are markered what number they are out of 100 if you got the standard series. Now, if you paid $1,000 extra, that's right, $4,000 total, you get a limited 1 out of 50, but they are signed by Joan Jett on the front of the instrument. Right up here, it says Joan Jett was here. And I hate to tell you guys this, but this marker is over top the lacquer. I feel that it should be under it. It actually smears if you rub your finger along it. Not such a good move in my opinion. And it just has a regular serial number with the Made in USA stamp and the Milk Bottle Grover tuners. This particular example weighs 6 pounds, 5.1 ounces. So it really is a nice weight. And pickup reading wise, the bridge pickup is 8.5 k ohms and the neck position is about 8.2. And the middle position for fun, about half that, 4.17. Now that we know all about this instrument and heard how it sounds, what are my final thoughts on this? I mean, keep in mind, this is my first 339 that I've pretty much ever even touched. I won't say it's my favorite body style. It almost feels kind of like one of those ES LPs where it's so small and lightweight that it kind of feels like a toy to me. But I'm a pretty tall guy, so I can see how this is appealing to other people. But as far as the tone went, I thought it was pretty nice. Got a nice round sounding neck pickup. You got a nice bitey bridge. I personally like burst bucker 2 and 3s. But is this a must-have for everyone? No, I think there's a reason why they're limited to 100 of these and 50 of the signed ones, because they're not too different from the standard 339 that you can purchase today. But then again, their price isn't too crazy either unless you want a signed version. So if you're a Joan Jett fan, definitely pick one of these up if you can. They're kind of selling out quick. Signed ones are already gone. There's just a handful of these guys kicking around out there. But let's say you like this look and you want a cheaper option. Seek out a 339 Studio. Some of the older ones pretty much look exactly like this. They'll have different pickups, but they'll have the black binding. I mean, it won't be the chambered center block. There will still be differences, but you can still get your Joan Jett on that way if you can't quite afford the $3,000 price tag these command. So it was fun to get to learn about this one, but I'm a little bit bummed about the quality control issues and that this one has to go back. But hey, that's the way it goes. The case is actually interesting. I'm so happy they customized it to her. So you've got her whole black heart right there. But take a look at this Gibson logo. It's a much crisper white than it normally is, so it really pops out against this dark black exterior. Then you've got Joan Jett's signature right there on the case. Now another cool thing about this one that I have not seen from a Gibson case before, I mean, normal latches, but look at this one. It's like an acoustic case latch. I mean, listen to that. As compared to this one. It's like spring loaded. That thing's crazy. That's probably the only latch you really need. But that's your new locking one. So I'll be interested to see if that comes stock on Gibson USA cases in the future. But other than that, you just got that one and then one back here that's regular. Standard handle, nice and padded. But the interior, it's kind of cool. It's got that dark crushed velvet, kind of like what the Les Paul Supreme cases had when they first came out, and some of the Elegance. It's not quite the same texture-wise, but it has that look. And this case seems like extra wide because, well, it's a wider guitar. But that gives you a huge compartment in here. But all the case candy included with these, just the regular stuff. Gibson strap, you have your pre-pack checklist, owner's manual, warranty card, multi-tool. Here's the new case key. It's a lot more official looking than it used to be. I don't know, does anybody actually use their case key? I've never done it. You got the Gibson polish cloth, the baby photo, and take a look at the certificate of authenticity. It's about twice as thick as it normally is on a Gibson. It even says Gibson on the back, that's kind of cool. But you've got Joan's signature again, a black heart, and on the inside you've got a picture of her with her 339, and you've got her signature, then the general manager's signature, and it tells you the model, and the serial number is under the blue tape. Thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning in to this review and demo of the new Joan Jett Signature 339. I think if you're a Joan Jett fan and you like the semi-hollow guitars and you like the idea of having a smaller one that's kind of like the size of a Les Paul, this is a must-have for you. But for everyone else, I think there's better alternatives out there. But you gotta hand it to Gibson. They didn't really overprice this one much more than a regular 339. So it's a win in that book and will surely become collectible. Thank you for watching. Take care.